For Alicia Vermond, this is a normal day in Caracas. Whenever there's a protest against the government of Nicolás Maduro, she goes. This has been happening since April. Opposition supporters, angry at the collapse of the Venezuelan economy and what they see as President Maduro's increasingly authoritarian rule, say all they can do is take to the streets. Sometimes these protests involve a few thousand people, other times hundreds of thousands. They are always prevented from reaching the center of Caracas. The Venezuelan government is showing it has no shortage of one thing: tear gas.
But now we were convoked to march to the Ministry of Justice, and the National Guard blocked the way.
Whenever she goes to a protest, Alicia carries liquid anti-acid.
This is used for creating a protection wall, let's say, so you can breathe a little bit more normally. So basically this tear gas bomb, actually it's made here. So we don't have any food made here, but we do have tear gas made here.
The opposition says the government is using tear gas as a lethal weapon, firing canisters directly at protesters. And other projectiles are also used. Venezuela's coins have long been worthless, given this country's triple-digit inflation. Someone is using them as bullets instead.
They were throwing tear gas from that way and from this way, from this avenue. So we have to go back. This is not safe. This is our constitutional right, and we should be able to go whenever in the city, wherever in the city we want. This is just not fair.
Alicia didn't expect this to be her future. A law graduate and former manager of a shopping mall, she's never been politically active. But along with what is now the majority of Venezuelans, she believes her government is taking this country on the wrong path.
What's your main criticism of the government? Is it the political situation here or the economic situation of the country?
I think it's the whole thing. Right now, it's sad to say, but I can't name, maybe with my 5 fingers of my hand, I could not name 5 things that I'm happy with in the country. Not in the economic part or the social part or political part. I think it's just like a huge mess.
Crime in Venezuela, which no government here has ever solved, has also deteriorated markedly in recent years. Even on so-called normal days, Caracas is one of the most violent cities in the world. Alicia knows that firsthand.
I've been kidnapped before in 2014. I was in my car, I was driving in a lane that was not so wide, so it's not that you could escape. I had a car in front of me, then in 5 seconds I think, I had another car back and 3 guys with guns. They took me out of my car, I was put into the car that was in front of me, and they took my car and we just...
You've decided to leave Venezuela. Was that a difficult decision?
Yes, actually yes, because I always wanted to stay in the country. I feel that I'm a person that has a lot to offer to recover the country. But I feel that I can't live here anymore. All my family, basically most of my family is not here, including my sister, including my cousins, including my best friends since we were in preschool. We were a group of 12 friends, and now we're 2 and me, so 3.
So you go to most of the protests. Now, what do you think about the people who decide that they don't want to go to the protest?
I think that people that say that they are against the government and don't protest, they should, because Again, this is the only way we have to show our discontent. For the people that are not either opposition or chavistas, I don't really think that now someone can just not be on one side or the other, because this is a very drastic and brutal situation that it's affecting everybody.
According to one respected polling company, around 24% of Venezuelans still say they support the president. Among them are Maria Fernanda Sanchez and her mother, Violeta Antonetti. They often exercise in this Caracas park early in the morning before the protests get going. Both describe themselves as chavistas, believers in the leftist movement of President Maduro's predecessor and mentor, Hugo Chavez.
So if you don't have any,
Violeta is especially critical of the opposition movement, which gained control of Venezuela's parliament in January 2016.
What is the project? Okay, you won. You say that you can change the country. Show me your project. Oh, your project is getting rid of the president. What is the project? They don't have project, that's the problem. They don't have plan. They don't care. And if you ask anybody around here, who would you vote for? They would say, I don't care. I don't care. I just want Maduro out of Miraflores. So you should care. Who is going to run the country?
But being a Chavista, it seems, is a lonely position in this country where the majority now wants change.
I mean, do you have friends who are in the opposition, for example?
Everybody.
Right.
Everybody. Right. I'm a red sheep.
Right, you're the red sheep. and do they don't persuade you and you don't persuade them?
Oh no, I don't try to persuade them because they won't be my friends anymore.
Right.
With some of them you can talk. With some people, it's like Pablo, dogs. That if you mention a word, they start barking.
So you try not to have political conversations with your friends?
No, not even with my family. Like I have my only sister and brothers. They live abroad a long time ago, 40 years ago, and with my sister we made an agreement. I love her so much, and she loves me so much, and we have an agreement. We don't talk about that.
And that works, yeah?
Yeah, it works. And I just,
hold your breath.
Yeah.
Like my mom said, sometimes there's people who really react aggressively, but mostly I think they're kind of surprised or shocked that I'm chavista.
Maria Fernanda, an English language teacher who's visiting Venezuela from her adopted new home in Japan, is perhaps the moderate in this self-described red family. She says she sees why the opposition is gaining support.
My perspective is a little bit different from my mom's because I've been living outside Venezuela since 2001. So, but I come every year. So it's been interesting to, especially because living in, kind of the States and Japan, countries where the quality of life is very different than Venezuela, and then coming back every year and seeing, what's going on, then I think that, I've been able to see things from kind of visiting perspective in a way, but still I don't agree with the way that they're approaching the protests.
What's wrong? What are they doing wrong?
I mean, I think again, I do feel that, some people are genuinely going to the protests because they have, a different perspective of how Venezuela should be run, which is totally, is all right as citizens. But then again, there is a lot of people that I know, or friends that I know that go there without really understanding what they're doing there.
The opposition do say, and people we've spoken to who are your sort of age in the opposition, they say We don't really want to go on the streets, but we feel it's our last option. You know, we feel that we don't have representation in the parliament.
Right.
We feel our money isn't worth anything. You know, we haven't even got enough money to leave the country. What else can we do? Leave the street? Do you sympathise with that a bit, or?
I mean, I think I sympathize with the feeling, but not with the violence. You know, I would put it in that way. I mean, I just had a conversation with a friend yesterday. She's a teacher, and she was telling me all her struggles to even go to work, right, because of everything. And despite that, she still, she supports the protests and goes to the protests. And there have been instances in which her life has been threatened.
As these protests continue, they are becoming more violent. The two sides blame each other for that. The protesters say the government is using unjustified and illegal force. The Maduro leadership, meanwhile, routinely describes the protesters as terrorists. One of Ana Licia's friends, Miguel Castillo, was killed in a demonstration last April.
We were friends in high school, basically. He went to a school that it's very close to my high school, so I knew him since we were basically 12. And he was killed with a metal marble. It went through his arm, and it got like around this area to his heart, and he was killed. He was 27. When I've been in the protest and I'm way back in the protest, they just start shooting. It's like they don't want you to be in the street and you're not doing anything, basically. They just, go.
Venezuela appears, and in many ways is, a deeply divided country. Are the scars of that division permanent?
Is it possible, though, to sort of bridge the gap? That, I mean, are people here defined by their politics, or can you have a friendship not sort of, entirely thinking about what you believe politically?
I hope so, I do hope so, and I think I always kind of self-reflect about that, about how I myself can make that happen as a citizen, as a regular citizen, because I think that's the key, for me, my main concern right now is not that we should be able to say, feel safe having a political view, and at the same time, what scares me the most is that there's people trying to really use that difference, that divisive rhetoric of, oh, you're chavista, you're from opposition, and they're using that, to create chaos.
What for her is the most positive legacy of 18 years of Chavismo?
So I do think, I do think that there's still things that were initiated by this government and by this social movement that is great. Actually, the one thing that I think is good, even though it has been misused at some points, is that we have become politically aware. Even if you're against or pro this movement, we are involved. I think that doesn't happen. Well, my experience in Japan is that no one knows what's going on politically there, people my age. But here people talk about it. They know what law is, is happening, what, I really feel that that's important in any country,
I do understand why people felt that at the beginning Chavez was a good idea, but from what I've studied, I went to law school, and from what I studied about these ideas, socialist, communist, etc., I don't believe that works.
I'm critical of some of the things that are going on here, but...
Like what?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the quality of life in Venezuela, is not as as I would wish it to be. And I think that there have been problems here that perhaps could have been dealt with in different ways. Not that it's a big deal to say, like, hey, you should have done it like this to a president of a country, but I know that there have been a few times when I'd be like, well, maybe it could have been worked out in a different way.
Maria Fernandez says she will be coming back to live full-time in Venezuela soon. And Alicia has made the opposite decision. She's come to the conclusion that her own country is no longer a place she feels at home.